He has also been a visiting member of a number of renowned colleges and universities in Punjab. Professor Syed has supervised about 20 research scholars of Masters and MPhil, and he has penned many famous TV serials and publications. He has been invited to numerous national and international conferences and seminars. Professor Syed has been conferred with 20 graduate awards, 15 Nigar awards, Best Writer NTM award for 5 consecutive years, Best Writer PTV award for 10 consecutive years, and has the honor of receiving Presidential Pride of Performance as well. The list of Professor Syed's professional journey is indeed a long one. I have just shared a small chunk of it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Asghar Nadeem Syed, for I am sure that you all must be waiting for his words of wisdom. Please, sir.
बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने मेरा इतना तफसील से तारुफ करा दिया। ख्वातीन व हज़रात, मैं यहाँ पेरेंट्स और स्टूडेंट्स से बात करने आया। मेरा जो टीचिंग एक्सपीरियंस 44 इयर्स का है, उसमें से 30 इयर्स का एक्सपीरियंस गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज लाहौर और GC यूनिवर्सिटी लाहौर का है। मैं बहुत फ़ख्र करता हूँ अपनी इस अपॉर्चुनिटी पर जो अल्लाह ने मुझे दी कि बेशुमार सब्जेक्ट्स के स्टूडेंट्स के साथ मेरा इंटरेक्शन हुआ। 5 साल मैंने बीकन हाउस नेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी में फिल्म, थिएटर और टीवी स्टडीज़ को हेड किया और मैंने बहुत कुछ एक्सप्लोर किया कि हमारे स्टूडेंट्स के अंदर क्रिएटिविटी और स्किल्स के साथ इल्म के लिए तगोदौ या उसके अंदर जो इंस्पिरेशन है वो कहाँ कहाँ मौजूद है और किस किस लेवल पर है, और हम उसको नर्चर करने के लिए हमारे पास, सोसाइटी के पास क्या वसाइल है, सोसाइटी बच्चे को किस एनवायरनमेंट में लेती है। ये बहुत बेसिक क्वेश्चंस हैं और इन क्वेश्चंस को आज एड्रेस भी किया गया है। मैं बहुत मुतमईन हूँ कि आज की पैनल डिस्कशन और स्टीव की गुफ्तगू ने बहुत कुछ खोला है। मैं जो चीज़ बिलीव करता हूँ और जो प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ मैं वो बताऊँगा। मैं ये समझता हूँ कि टीचर का काम पढ़ाना नहीं है, पास आया है। टीचर का काम इंस्पायर करना है, बच्चा खुद पढ़ता है। अगर बच्चा खुद नहीं पढ़ रहा तो कहीं ना कहीं सिस्टम में गड़बड़ है। अगर उसे तालीम एक गैर दिलचस्प चीज लग रही है तो सोचें कहां प्रॉब्लम है। बच्चे को तो खुद पढ़ना, तालीम से ज्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग, एंटरटेनिंग कोई एक्टिविटी नहीं है। अब अगर बच्चे के पेरेंट्स मुझे आके कहते हैं बच्चे को उर्दू नहीं आती, बच्चा लिख नहीं सकता, तो मैं कहता हूं ये प्रॉब्लम आप एड्रेस करें। क्यों ऐसा है? आपके घर में अखबार आता है उर्दू का? आपके घर में रेडियो है जो उर्दू की नशरियात दे? आपके घर में टेलीविजन है जो उर्दू की नशरियात दे? आपके घर में किताब है जो उर्दू की हो, वगैरह वगैरह। तो इस तरह हम ये देखते हैं कि जब बच्चा इस दुनिया में आता है तो क्या अल्लाह ताला टैग लगा के भेजता है कि मैंने इसमें एक डॉक्टर रखा है? क्या वो टैग लगा के देता है कि इसमें मैंने एक इंजीनियर रखा है? नहीं। अल्लाह की मखलूक आज़ाद पैदा हुई है اور اس کو چین ہم نے ڈالی ہے طرح طرح کی. اللہ نے اس ہر بچے کے لیے ایک اتنا بڑا انوائرمنٹ رکھ دیا ہے. سمندر، پہاڑ، ہوا، دھوپ، بارش، زمین، صحرا، سب کچھ رکھ دیا ہے. اور یہ توقع رکھی ہے کہ اس کی مخلوق اس نیچر سے سیکھے جس نیچر سے جانور سیکھتا ہے، جس نیچر سے پرندہ سیکھتا ہے. کم از کم انسان کا بچہ تو اس سے کہیں زیادہ امیجنیشن رکھتا ہے. اور صرف امیجنیشن اشرف المخلوق کے پاس ہے، ہمارے پاس ہے. اللہ نے ہمیں اتنا بڑا گفٹ دیا ہے کہ ہم جب چاہیں ٹائم اور سپیس کو توڑ سکتے ہیں، اور ٹائم اینڈ سپیس کو توڑ کے جہاں چاہیں جا سکتے ہیں، اور جب چاہیں واپس آ سکتے ہیں. ہرمن ہیس نے اس بات کو اپنی بایوگرافی میں، جو نوبل لاریٹ ہے فکشن کا، جرمن ہرمن ہیس، اس نے بڑی دلچسپ بات لکھی ہے. وہ پڑھتا نہیں تھا، وہ اسکول نہیں جاتا تھا، وہ بھاگ جاتا تھا، اس نے کوئی فارمل ایجوکیشن اس طرح حاصل نہیں کی. بٹ ہی از نوبل لاریٹ ان فکشن. دنیا کی جرمن زبان کے فکشن کا، جس کا سب سے بڑا کام سدھارتھ ناول ہے. تو وہ لکھتا ہے کہ میں ایک دفعہ چھوٹے سے کسی جرم میں جیل چلا گیا. تو جیل چلا گیا تو میں جب چاہتا تھا جیل توڑ کے باہر آ جاتا تھا، اور جب جیلر آتا تھا تو میں وہاں موجود ہوتا تھا. اس بات کو اس نے یوں لکھا کہ میں نے دیوار پر ایک پٹڑی بنائی ریل کی، پھر اس پہ ایک ڈبہ بنایا، پھر دوسرا ڈبہ، پھر تیسرا، پھر انجن، اور آخر میں دھواں بنا دیا. وہ ٹرین مجھے باہر لے جاتی تھی. ٹرین از سمبولک. باہر کیا چیز لے جاتی تھی؟ امیجنیشن جو اسے اللہ نے دیا تھا. اس کے زور پہ باہر چلا جاتا تھا، اور جب چاہتا تھا واپس آ جاتا تھا. سو کوئی بچہ نالائق نہیں ہے. کوئی بچہ جو کم نمبر لے رہا ہے وہ دوسرے سے لیس پریولیج نہیں ہے. یہ میرا ایکسپیرینس ہے. اور دوسری بات جو میں اپنے لیے میں نے فرض کی کہ ٹیچر کا کام فیل کرنا نہیں ہے. اگر ٹیچر فیل کرتا ہے تو اس کا مطلب وہ خود ناکام ہے، وہ اپنے بچے کو نہیں سمجھ سکا. تو قصور فیل ہونے والے بچے کا نہیں ہے، قصور میرا ہے. تو میں نے کیا کیا؟ پریکٹس کی ساری زندگی. میں اس کو ہیلپ آؤٹ کرتا تھا، پرچہ واپس لے لیتا تھا، اسے دوسرا پرچہ دیتا تھا. اور میں سمجھنا چاہتا تھا کہ یہ سوال اس نے کیوں نہیں کیا، تو میں دوسرا سوال دیتا تھا، تیسرا دیتا تھا. کہیں نہ کہیں وہ اس کا ذہن آ جاتا تھا. تو اس طرح بچوں کو فیل کرنے کا جو کلچر ہے سراسر غلط ہے. اب آپ آئیں آج کی ایجوکیشن جو انتہائی ناقص ہے. وکٹری سٹینڈ رکھ دیے گئے ہیں، بچے پہ پریشر ہے، اتنے ایز لاؤ، اتنے یہ لاؤ، اتنے وہ لاؤ. بچہ اس میں کرش ہو جاتا ہے. بچے کو یہ نہیں بتایا گیا کہ دیکھو بات سنو، اس تعلیم کے علاوہ دوسری تعلیم بھی کوئی ہے، ضروری نہیں ہے کہ یہی ہے. اس ملک میں بدقسمتی سے تعلیم کو جاب سے جوڑ دیا گیا ہے، پیسہ کمانے سے جوڑ دیا گیا ہے. اور ہر پیرنٹ یہ چاہتا ہے اس کا بیٹا، میں خود بھی یہی چاہتا ہوں کہ میرا بیٹا ایسے پروفیشن میں جائے، سیف ہو جائے، چار پیسے لے آئے، اپنا فیوچر اچھا کر لے. اس چکر میں ہم نے صرف 4 سبجیکٹس کو اہمیت دی. ایچ ای سی نے بھی اہمیت دی اور ہماری لڑائی رہی ان سے. سوشل سائنسز کو اگنور کر دیا گیا. کہا گیا ڈاکٹر بنو، انجینئر بنو، بینکر بنو، اکانومسٹ بنو، اینڈ دیٹس آل. مجھے بتائے کیا دنیا میں یہی 4 شعبے ہیں؟ کیا دنیا کی سیولائزیشن جو اب تک بنی ہے کیا ان 4 ستونوں پہ کھڑی ہے؟ نہیں. دنیا کی تاریخ پڑھیں تو پتہ چلتا ہے یہاں ہسٹورین بھی تھے, تو پتہ چلتا ہے مصور تھے, پینٹرز تھے, پوئٹس تھے, سٹوری ٹیلر تھے, فکشن رائٹرز تھے, کلچرل سٹڈیز کے مالک تھے, ہیریٹیج جانتے تھے اور فلسفہ جانتے تھے, نفسیات جانتے تھے. آپ یونان کی جو بیسک نالج کی جو کڑیاں ہیں آپ ان کو ڈسکور کریں, ان سب میں یہ ڈسپلن ہے, تھیٹر کا ڈسپلن ہے. یونان سے شروع ہوا, اسی زمانے میں ارسطاٹل کے زمانے میں, سوکریٹیز کے زمانے میں, اور اسی میں وہاں فلسفہ پیدا ہوا, اسی میں وہاں تاریخ کا علم پیدا ہوا. چین ترقی کر گیا ہے, آپ سب جانتے ہیں, دنیا میں سب سے بڑا علم تاریخ کا چین کے پاس ہے, جس کے بارے میں کہا گیا علم حاصل کرو خاتمِ چین جانا پڑے. تو اتنے علوم, اور نہیں تو قرآن پاک دیکھ لیں, قرآن پاک میں جن علوم کا ذکر ہے کیا وہ پڑھائے جا رہے ہیں؟ نہیں. اوشنالوجی, فلکیات, منطق, فلسفہ, کہانی, قرآن پاک کہانی کا سب سے بڑا سمندر ہے.
We have to bridge the gap between rhetoric and reality, and we have to have greater integrity that the values we say are dear to us. And it's risky doing so. Let me tell you a little story. Some of you may have heard me say this before, but this is the story about 3 tortoises. 2 large, 1 small. And these 3 tortoises decided to go for a picnic. So they packed a picnic camper and they went off into the woods. And it took them 3 months to get to where they were going. 3 months. And they got there, they opened the picnic camper, and the 2 big ones took up the sandwiches, and they said to them, "Where's the lemonade?" They said, "What do you mean the lemonade?" They said, "Where's the lemonade? You were supposed to get the lemonade." They said, "You forgot the lemonade, you can't go on a picnic without the lemonade." He said, "I'm sorry, I forgot." They said, "You're going to have to go back and get it." He said, "I'm not going back and get it." He said, "I'm not going back." They said, "You've got to go back and get it. It was your responsibility to bring the lemonade. You'll go back and get it." And he said, "I know if I go back and get it, you eat the sandwiches." And they said, "We won't eat the sandwiches." And he said, "I know you eat the sandwiches." They said, "We won't eat the sandwiches. Go back and get the lemonade." So off he went through the woods, get the lemonade. And after 3 months, they were looking at him. For 6 months, they were expecting him back, and he hadn't come back. 7 months went by and was starting. 8.5 months, they'd been waiting for him to come back with the lemonade. He still hadn't showed. And the one tortoise said to the other, "Oh man, I'm tired of this. Let's eat the sandwiches." And a little voice from behind the bush said, "If you eat those sandwiches, I won't go." So, why would I share this story with you? What's the message? What's the message in it? What's the story about it really?
People don't trust people.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, it's about trust. It's about trust, and trust is a really difficult thing to earn. It's a difficult thing to earn, and I say earn because just because I'm the director of a school evaluation unit doesn't mean to say people should trust me for that. But the way I behave and what you see me do and what you say will determine the extent to which you are prepared to invest some trust in it. And that's replicated across the world of employment. It's replicated in our families, as children are growing up in our families, the amount of trust that they can have in their parents. If we say one thing to them, we let them down, the trust gap widens. If we say something to them and they are confident that we stand by what we said, the trust gap stays very narrow. And we need to be able to build trust. So, we come into the school curriculum. Schools are just schools. They're not going to solve this problem on their own, but what is wonderful with the Learning Cafe, I congratulate you all on this, is you brought together the stakeholders. I hope in the future we can start having schools talking a great more to industry, to the world of commerce, to the world of business. I hope that we can bring them in and negotiate curricula with them to say, what do you need from our students? In my opinion, and again I'm saying it's not the SEU and it's not necessarily Beacon Houses, but I think the universities have quite a big mindset about this. And it started with Oxford and Cambridge and Princeton and the universities that we all look up to. Yale, Harvard. They're so compartmentalized in their learning, and they're so detached from the real world. My son said to me, I'm training crystal balls and astrophysicist, and then go on to train as a lawyer. And he's now a corporate lawyer in London. And he said to me, the stuff that he learned in university was a complete waste of time for him, you know. He said none of it was applicable in the corporate world. And the first thing they told him when he started working there was, forget about that. And he's in a real dilemma at the moment. My son is in a real dilemma at the moment. Because he's beginning to lose respect for the profession that he's in. He loves the work, but he's losing respect for the profession he's in because he feels that it's hypocritical, that it's dishonest to itself and to its employees. He's earning a lot of money, and he does enjoy the work, and he likes working with the clients. But the company itself is losing his respect. And I believe personally, I think he will leave the profession within the next 18 months. I may be wrong, but I genuinely believe he will do that. I think these are things we need to talk to students about, to children about. You know, when babies are born, they're full of curiosity. They're full of curiosity. They don't survive unless they're curious. It's the first stage of literacy. And by literacy, I don't mean just reading. I mean communication. Their desire from their observations, from their curiosity, their desire to communicate what they discover about this wonderful world gets them to want to speak. Their motivation is there. Their motivation to communicate is what enables them to speak. We don't teach speaking to babies, do we? They learn it. We don't have books on how to teach speaking to babies. They learn it because they are so motivated to communicate. And you know the brain develops so much faster if that desire to communicate and that curiosity is nurtured. It's nurtured and looked after. If we don't have time to answer the questions, my little nephew now, tiny little Stanley, he's 4, and he's going through that phase, you know, that drives us crazy as parents. Why? Why not? And so I started saying back to him when he said that, I said, why, Stan? Why? But what is beautiful with it is his natural curiosity. And in schools, certainly in my day, moved from primary school to secondary school, the very first day that we moved from primary school to secondary school, they said to us, playtime is over. Now you've got to start working. Oh dear, what's that? You know, we stopped learning by discovery. We stopped being engaged with materials. We stopped picking things up and finding out about them ourselves and talking to somebody next to us about what we discovered. And we started opening textbooks, copying things off the board, learning to pass exams. And it pretty much destroyed my respect for education. I left school with no qualifications. I got out as quick as I could, and for the first 18 months, from 15 until 16 and a half, I was a grave digger, a manual worker, broke my father's heart. Absolutely broke his heart. You see, I felt that the role of education and the role of academia is hypocritical. As I grew older, thankfully, I began to look at things and realize I'd made a terrible mistake. I hadn't controlled my anger. I hadn't controlled it, and I damaged my own future. And what I had to do was go back to night school and study and get through these exams. I didn't particularly respect the exam system, but I did recognize that if I wanted to go anywhere, if I wanted to make something of my life, that I had to go back and compromise the values that I was holding at 15 and 16. It seems to me that we have all these issues that are up here. We need to start building into the curriculum and the way we teach opportunities for students to think about this, to listen to one another, to learn from one another, as well as pass exams. We can't stop them. They've got to pass exams. That's the system. That's the compromise. But it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial that we address some of these issues and we empower our children and our young people to be able to converse. I believe, and I came to Pakistan because I believe I can have, despite my cultural differences, my religious differences, whatever, I believe Pakistan is a place where I want to have a conversation with the people of Pakistan. I want to learn from the people of Pakistan. I want to be able to see life through their telescope, through their lens. And it's a wonderful privilege, and I'm enjoying doing it. Thank you for having me. I just want to finish fairly quickly.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to take a big risk now. It's a big risk. I'm a bit nervous about it. I've only once ever sung in public. And that was a good decision of mine because I don't know if it's anymore. It's pretty awful. But I'm going to go with it again. And I'm going to ask you to join in towards the end. So, butterflies in the stomach. Forgive me for the terrible singing voice, but here we go. There's never been a time. There's never been a time. There's never been a time as messed up as this. As messed up as this. I didn't mess it up. You probably didn't mess it up. But they messed it up. Now it's messed up. Turn to the person next to you and just ask them, did you mess it up? Go on, ask them. You know what, son, do you mind if I never mess it up? Somebody somewhere, they mess it up. Now it's messed up. I can't unmess it. You probably can't unmess it. But if we leave it then to unmess it, it's going to be a mess. Okay. Put the people on this side, please. I want to have there.
Ladies and gentlemen, humans have the capabilities to learn skills, develop competencies, adopt values and attitudes, but there are certain experiences, environment, and interactions which aid the acquisition process. Today, a very interesting and diverse panel has been invited for discussion. The underlying theme of our discussion is developing lifelong learners. I'll invite the moderator of today's panel, Mr. Zain Irfan, who is a Beaconite himself and is currently working as the Senior Career Advisor at our A-level campus. He is a US graduate and has worked with the United States Education Foundation, Pakistan, before joining BSS. The number of admissions and scholarships that BSS Faisalabad has received over the last year is the highest in the region. It is due to his effort and hard work that Faisalabad A-level campus alone received over 60 crore in scholarship in the last 1 year. He strives to get his students the best opportunities and scholarships out there so that they excel in life and make BSS Faisalabad proud. The panelists of today's discussion are Mrs. Mehwish Yassin, Abdullah Nadeem, Ms. Fawzia Malik, Anaya Sultan, and Dr. Dawood Rana.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, and welcome to this special discussion on acquisition of key competencies, skills and values within lifelong learning. Lifelong learning has become a central theme in education and community development. Both international and national organizations, educational institutions and governments have adopted this idea of lifelong learning as their major theme for address and attention over the next few years. They realize that it is only by getting people committed to the idea of both life-wide and lifelong learning that the goals of economic advancement, social emancipation, and personal growth will be attained. The process of learning continues throughout one's life. During the years of formal schooling, the nature of education changes significantly. Schools, of course, continue the education begun at home and try to fill in the gaps of knowledge, of values, and broadening their understanding and experience. Schools should encourage children to reflect rationally on variety of factors that impinge on their experience so that they can construct their own developing framework of values and learn how to make rational and informed moral decisions. With this, I would like to introduce my panelists here. First, we have with us Ms. Mehwish Yassin. She has done Masters in Business Administration and has previously worked with LGS and Faisal Bank. She is currently a housewife and writes articles online for a Multan-based company. Next to her is Abdullah Nadeem. He's a Beaconite student as well, and he is currently going to start. He's just got done with his O-levels and will be starting his A-levels soon. Next is Fawzia Malik. She is an ex-Beaconite and is also currently teaching at Beacon House, Faisalabad. She is also doing her MS in Management Sciences from Punjab University. Next is Anaya Sultan, our head girl from grade 8. And last is Dr. Dawood Ahmed. He is the assistant professor of orthopedics at Punjab Medical College. He is Aga Khan graduate and is also the founder of Joint Replacement Surgery and Arthroscopic Surgeries in Faisalabad. So with this, I would like to put my first question forward to Dr. Daud. So in your opinion, what is lifelong learning and how can the learners benefit from it?
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. In my opinion, the lifelong learning is an ongoing voluntary, self-motivated pursuit of knowledge, either for the professional reasons or for the personal reasons. It not only enhances your skills and professional development, but also it improves your self-sustainability, your employability, your competitiveness, and social inclusion. At one point in life, if you think that you have learned a lot and you can outshine your colleagues and competitors, it is the point where your progress comes to a halt, comes to a stop. Because as doctor, I know that there are new techniques, new inventions, new instruments, new designs, new advancements. To keep up with the pace of this advancement, I should keep up with the new knowledge for me. For that, I should try to keep getting new knowledge. So if I am outdated, I will be out of this race, right? This lifelong learning is the basic difference between a good professional and an excellent professional.
Okay, thank you. Anaya, would you like to add something?
Good evening, everyone. In my opinion, lifelong learning is a voluntary act of learning throughout life. It is a self-motivated pursuit of learning. I think the struggle of learning must continue to the end. The values the children are taught in their early years of life, at home and at school, help shape the children's personality and attitude. This includes the formal and informal education and changes over time. Young children pick up attitudes, values, and personal qualities through interaction with the people around them. Parents and other family members help young children to understand and to articulate their emotions, to learn about living with others, to develop ideas about right and wrong, and to develop pro-social attitudes such as trust, cooperation, and helping others.
Okay, Abdullah.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to define lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is a voluntary act of learning throughout life. It is the will to grasp or the learning undertaken throughout life with the aim of improving knowledge, skills, and competencies within a personal, civic, social, or employment-related perspective. This kind of learning is flexible, diverse, and available at random basis. I'm constantly surprised at the number of people who assume that they have completed their education with some degree, certificate, or credential. Like degrees given in United States are given away in a ceremony called commencement. A degree is only a passport to enter the world of work and experience. It is a permission to begin. So with the passage of time, you get to know a lot about life and you get the experience how to face the difficulties that you have to face with time. Coming on to the benefits of being a lifelong learner. Number one, which is the most attractive one for many of you, you earn more. How? In today's job market, there is no luxury. So you have to get skills that cut edge. You need to be unique and autodidact. There are countless examples of famous folks who learned how to create thriving businesses without formal education, namely Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison, and Henry Ford. Countless not so famous business owners became successful without ever earning a sheepskin too, simply by teaching themselves what they needed to know and relentlessly tick it. Moving forward, you will be more interesting and charismatic. Now, those who met Theodore Roosevelt were always greatly impressed with his ability to hold a conversation with anyone regarding any subject imaginable. He had knowledge regarding complex theories. He became such a charismatic conversational dynamo by developing the ability to speed read and then devouring books like a hungry lion feasting on a fresh kill. So while in White House, he would read a book after every breakfast. And in case he had nothing to do after that, he would read 2 or 3 more. Moving on. Lifelong learning helps you to become a better leader. Being able to connect you with others makes you influential. The greater your knowledge base, the more you can meet people. Greater stockpile of solutions to tackle problems and overcome challenges is another advantage gained by lifelong learning.
Okay, thank you. Next question, I would like to put it forward to you, Ms. Mavish. What part does education play in instilling values for leading a balanced life?
Assalamualaikum everyone, and a very good evening to all. Basically, a balanced life is the one which brings happiness within, a satisfaction of that you're doing something right in your life. So for that, it is something that is acquired. And how is it acquired? Through education. When I say education here, it does not mean the formal education that you get through your institutions. It is the formal and informal education that one starts learning from the time you open your eyes to the time you close them. It is very important to understand that to thrive socially, economically and mentally, we need to educate ourselves at all levels of life, at all stages of life. Whether it be through our parents, what our parents teach us, whether what academics teach us, whether what the profession teaches. Throughout life, each phases of life throws at us different concepts of education, and it is upon us how we take them and how we use them. And it is only through educating ourselves and our generation next, as a mother I quote, as a generation's next, I quote that it is only through education we make them better human beings that others can look up to, human beings that we want to see our children, is what the world needs. Please, it is very important for us.
G. Fauzia, would you like to add something?
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and a very good evening to everyone here. I think providing education or teaching is not merely a job, but it is a lot more than that. It is an ongoing process. Since students spend most of their time at school, it is the perfect place for instilling moral values in them. Finding balance in life is a realistic and important goal, and it is set by all the students, right? So in order to achieve that, I think instilling values and responsibilities among our students has to be our top priority as a teacher. You see, intelligence alone is not enough. Intelligence needs to be backed up by character building. So intelligence and character building, that should be the goal of true education. Educating social intelligence has always been a value added of a teacher. And we see our jobs here as an educationist becomes even more important, it becomes even more complex, because as I believe, teachers who expect they don't have to teach together to the students does not understand, they don't understand their job well. All these elements that we've already spoken about, like the values and the key competence, acquisition of key competencies, values and skills, all these help us to build the student profile under the concept of holistic teaching or holistic learning as we call it.